action photos. Sorry? Being lucky. I really might have to do a panel.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Welcome again to HIPA, ladies and gentlemen, and we are today conducting this special session. It will be a live judging session. And if you wish, and if you didn't get the headset, please, the session will be conducted in 2 languages. If you wish, you can get a headset for Arabic or for English. Yeah? Okay. We will have today our special judges of this year. And I am very pleased to introduce first Mr. Adib Al-Ani, Ahlan wa Sahlan, Alison Wright, and Ken Geiger. Yes. They are requested now to introduce themselves and to tell you a little bit about how they judge. This is actually the aim or the goal of our session today, is to know how each judge individually think. Yeah? It's very important that you can discuss something with them. Some of the photos will come now as per our categories, I mean challenge, black and white, color, and then at the end will be some portfolios. It's random selection. Maybe you will see your photograph here and you will get really very hard critique then. Please, if you have any question, we will be standing here holding the mics. Please don't hesitate to tell us that you want or you wish to say something to the judges. You are free to ask each judge also individually, and each judge will share with you what is the scoring they may give to each photograph and why this photograph can be interesting to them and why not. Don't forget, if you wish also to send a link for your friends or families to watch this live judging session live, it's on our YouTube page, hipa.ae. It's our YouTube page. If you wish to forward it to anybody who is interested to join us, please do so. And don't forget also, you will get your certificate at the end of the session. It is 3 hours, no break.
No break.
Yeah, no break. You
No
have to
breaks.
go.
That wasn't in
maybe
the
toilet break.
That wasn't in the contract,
that
man.
wasn't discussed. Okay, wish you a very nice lecture and enjoy. Thank you.
So who's starting? Me? Oh, you want me to start? Oh, man. Oh, look, we have photos already. Just a little bit about me, I guess. You all know my name is Ken. I started off as a newspaper photographer. So I worked the streets for a long time for the Dallas Morning News. I kind of came halfway indoors, shooting, editing, until I became the director of photography at the Dallas Morning News. And I had 30 photographers working for me. We covered all sorts of things. I had 10 picture editors, and I ran the pre-press department. So it was a big, big operation, a lot of moving parts. During that time, we went from analog to digital. And that brought me to the National Geographic. Sorry? Were you talking? No? There I kind of, I don't know, became an even better editor because I was working with better photographers. At least in my own mind, I became a better editor. I don't know about the photographers, what they thought. So that's kind of my background, you know, bringing up. I've got, I don't know. There's editors that have become editors. They don't know a lot about shooting, but I kind of feel I can still shoot. I can work in the studio. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology, so I mean, if you want me to go into the studio right now and pull out the strobes with an 8x10 sheet film camera, I can do that. I have a large toolkit, and I try to bring that toolkit when I work with photographers, when I work with people on their portfolios, to the table, all that experience. And I bring that when I look at pictures too. So when you have a long career and you're as old as I am, I guess, you've kind of seen it all. And when you're looking at a set of images in a contest like this, sorry? Raise my voice. Yeah, right. You'll guess by my quiet demeanor too, I like hiding behind the camera and not being on stage. So this is a little out of the ordinary for me. I don't know what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
You were talking about how you have a big toolkit and how.
Oh yeah, big toolkit, right? Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you've seen a lot of images, then when you're looking at a contest like this, sometimes you might look at how I'm looking at images might be harsh, because I know how maybe this first image stacks up against a lot of other images I've seen. And when you're about to judge a contest and Ola tells you there's 556 photos, I know there's going to be something better than that one. I'm not specifically saying this one that's on this screen now, but you have a baseline of what you're looking for. You know, you're looking for the best of the best. And it's easy to go out, low score, depending upon how you're doing it, based on the fact that you know there's going to be something better. And if you're looking at the judging, you might go, oh man, that guy's really cold-blooded. He didn't even give my photo a look. Well, it's because I know there's going to be something better. And you also have to remember that because I'm an editor and can wear that editor hat, it means that I'm not there to stroke your ego, to make you feel good about your photographs. I'm there to dissect how you're doing as a photographer, tell you where the weaknesses are, so that you can make those weak points stronger. So that when you come back on your assignment or you come back to your contest the next time, you won't have those weaknesses, because you're only as good as your weakest photo. So my job is to make you look better. And I bring that to how I look at pictures too. So I'm looking for the weaknesses, weeding them out quickly, and then moving on to the next strength. Because it's easy to talk about a great photo. How do you take the weak ones and make them stronger? Or how do you just get rid of them and get to the cream of the crop? And there's a special tool that I use, and it's a 12-sided die. So if I have to make a decision about a photo, I just roll the dice and go, well, let's see, you're number 12. Okay, that's my one joke for the evening. I don't know how that translated, but anyway. It didn't translate very well, because he's laughing about 5 minutes later, he's getting the joke. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. Allison? I will say one thing, is that in any kind of portfolio critique, and in some ways I feel like this is almost like a live critique section, and we're looking at other people's pictures. They should have checked you for weapons before we came in, because sometimes you hurt people's feelings, and it's not to be rude or to hurt someone's feelings. It's just to be honest about my perception. This is just my opinion. Allison's opinion, anybody's opinion can be different. I mean, photography is subjective. You know, it is. It's what you like, what you don't like. But some of it's about basic composition, structure, and, you know, you worked really hard on that photo. You know, you can still smell what it was like to be there, to shoot that photo. It's something passionate in your heart. And I look at it and go, yeah, it doesn't work. And it can hurt your feelings. But it's just honest. And that's what we're going to do here today, is just be honest. So, but that honesty comes from just my opinion. And you know what? At the end of the day, you can take that opinion and file it and say, oh, maybe that's valid, or you can toss it in the trash because you think it's a load of you know what. So it's kind of up to you. But that's what I'm going to try to bring to this session today, just being honest about photography, whether I like it or I don't. Anyway.
My name is Allison Wright, and I know Ken from National Geographic. He's an incredible photographer and an amazing editor, so I would really listen up to what he says. I, too, cut my teeth on working on newspapers back when there actually were newspapers. And I was in high school. I was 15 years old when I first heard the word photojournalist and knew that's what I wanted to do with my life. I worked on the school newspaper and the yearbook, and so I started when I was very young, and I've never wavered from wanting to do this. So I've watched the craft really evolve and change over the years, but I feel really lucky in a way that I really started on analog cameras and worked on film. I went to college and studied, which I don't think is absolutely necessary to do, but that was my path. And I feel like I come from the old school of really learning how to make a good photo in the camera and not necessarily in post-production. And so I got when I was on the newspaper, I got an overseas assignment in Nepal. And I went for this 3-week assignment, and I didn't leave for more than 4 years. I absolutely fell in love with Nepal, and so I stayed on for this incredible job that UNICEF created for me, photographing children in all aspects of their, livelihood and their rights. And I do a lot of post-disaster conflict work and was very interested in the rights of children. And that's when I got the Dorothea Lange Award for my work with child labor in Asia and a couple Lowell Thomas Awards. But I love doing books. I love doing big, meaty, long-term projects. And I think it's really important to pursue your passion and what has meaning to you. And those are where your best images are going to come. The challenge with that is that you're not always going to be your best editor as a photographer. I think it's really important to get an outside view of your work because I do get really emotionally involved. I really do go back to the place and the people and the situation. You know, when you cover really extreme places and situations, you tend to, think, oh, this is something that other people should care about, or, and really at the end of the day, it's just what makes a good image. And we're going to get into talking about that as far as, you know, gesture, composition, what makes something emotive. The most important thing I feel is what makes your eye come back to it, what makes you linger. And we all looked at that. So I come from a black and white background, and I think that that's also a really important aspect that I learned about the technical aspect of what makes a good photo. And then I started working in color film, and then color slide film, and now digital. So, you know, that is one of the aspects I do look at very closely right up front. If the technical aspect of the photo is getting in the way and I can't feel the emotion or the evocativeness of the photo, then that's an easy, you know, I can't get past it. So those are things I look at. After 10 years of working, I went back and did my master's degree in visual anthropology, studying culture through photography and film at UC Berkeley. So I feel strongly about an image having some sort of photo or story, some sort of story to the photo. And so we look at that as well. So we'll get into talking about more of that, but I've now published 13 books, so I think that I'm always looking for the, you know, it's not just that you want to throw a bunch of pictures in a book. Each picture better be worthy of being in there. So anyway, that's what I do, and thank you.
شكرا. لا عليك يا أليسون. احنا كنا من الاولد سكول، المدرسه القديمه. السلام عليكم. معكم أديب شعبان العاني، استاذ تدريسي لماده التصوير الصحفي في جامعه بغداد، كليه بغداد، كليه الاعلام. قد تكون بدايه خطواتنا لممارسه مهنه التصوير تختلف عما هو عليه الآن. كنا نتعامل في الدارك روم مع الفيلم، مع الصورة، وهذا نعم، وهذا أيوه، وهذا خلق جيل من المصورين المحترفين جدا اللي يتعامل بالدارك روم والأبيض والأسود، طلع مصور محترف من الوزن الثقيل. مارست التصوير الصحفي، مصور حربي. قد تكون فترة الحرب العراقية الإيرانية 8 سنوات كانت كفيلة بأن أطلع صور صحفية لها علاقة بالجانب الإنساني وليس بالجانب الدموي الآخر. ماو تسي تونغ يقول أن رحلة ال1000 ميل تبدأ بخطوة. كنا بدينا خطواتنا بشكل بسيط، سألنا، استفسرنا، استفدنا من من سبقونا في هذا المشوار الطويل، والحمد لله ستيب باي ستيب إلى أن قدرنا أن نجد موطئ قدم في مكان ما لأجل أن يعني نحضر القبول. أعطيكم فكرة حتى أختصر كل السي في مالتي وكل شيء من القبيل. أتحدث في مجال اللي إحنا جايين به الآن. المحكم هو إنسان مثلكم، مصور. بس من يكون المحكم؟ من هو المحكم؟ المحكم الصحيح اللي هو من يركز على 4 عناصر رئيسية في الصورة. الموضوع، ينبغي على المحكم أن يطابق العمل اللي يحكم عليه مع روح الموضوع اللي مطروح في المسابقة، حتى لا يجهد نفسه. إذا شافه مطابق يتعامل وياه، إذا ما شافه نيكست، الصورة الأخرى. الفكرة، العنصر الثاني الفكرة. ينبغي أن تكون الفكرة جديدة غير مستهلكة. فكرة جديدة غير مستهلكة، يعني أنت من تستعرض عشرات الآلاف من الصور في جائزة حمدان لمدة 6 أيام 7 أيام، تتعامل وياها بحرفية تامة، تقرأها صورة قراءة لكي تعطيها حقها. لأن هذه الأعمال اللي تفضل بها كل مصور هي أمانة دقيقة من كل واحد من عندكم في ذمة المحكم. جائزة حمدان قدمت الصور مرمزة ما بها لا اسم ولا اسم دولة، فلذلك بأنه كان التحكيم دقيق جدا، منطلق من مسؤولية وأمانة ومهنية للمحكم. هذا مهم جدا. لذلك بأنه ينبغي أن تكون الفكرة للعمل المقدم فكرة جديدة غير مستهلكة لكي تسرق عين المحكم. 3 التكوين، قلب الصورة النابض. عمل بموضوع بفكرة ما بتكوين مثل جسد بلا قلب. كيف أنت تستطيع بأنه أن تصنع صورة بها تكوين جميل جدا؟ عليك قراءة المشهد. كيف أقرأ المشهد؟ أنت مصور موجود في صحراء أو في حياة شارع، عليك أن تفكر، عليك أن تخطط، ثم تشرع بالتنفيذ. هذا مهم جدا. هاي 3 مواصفات للمحكم. رابعا العناصر الأخرى. ما هي العناصر الأخرى؟ عناصر أخرى تدخل في الظل والضوء، في الألوان، وفي التعديل. كل هذه تجتمع لتكون 4 عناصر تقف شاخصة أمام عين المحكم من أجل أن يدلو بدلوه. لذلك أقوله بصراحة أنه أنا كان لي كبير الشرف أن أدخل مع عمالقة من المحكمين اللي لهم تجربة كبيرة ولهم CV خطير قوي جدا. وأخيرا حتى لكي لا أسرق من وقتكم المهم جدا حتى ندخل في ضم العمل مالتنا، هذه أمانة مسؤولية علي أن نطقي بها. لن تتعرض لجنة التحكيم، يشهد الله علي وأني رجل أكتب، لن تتعرض لجنة التحكيم لأي ضغوطات من فريق عمل الجائزة أو من جائزة حمدان بن محمد بن راشد على المكتوم الدولي للتصوير الضوئي. أبد. كانوا ينقلون من ثيم إلى ثيم ويطلعون. كان التحكيم نزيه بقرار من لجنة المحكمين. أكتفي بهذا القدر. شكرا.
Now we can go ahead.
Okay. So you want us to literally put in a number here, right?
Yeah, I think you are free to tell your scoring. If somebody needs to ask some questions, please let us know. We will give you the mic.
I could pull that out.
If it's easy to score, just score and tell them what's your scoring and go
Okay.
ahead.
We want to just go
How do you
left
get
to
the
right
keyboard?
again, or right to left, whichever. Me start, make it easy.
Yeah, if you have something to say.
Okay.
Yeah, this is challenge by
Problem.
There you go. No,
This one.
no, just touch down here, and then touch number, and then you can add the score.
All right, thanks.
I scored this image very low. How I look at a judging, we had, well, the system here at HIPAA is 0 to 100. And like I said before, you're looking for the best images. And if you have a preconceived notion of what those might be based on your experience, you know that you're going to find something better. This is one of those images I know I can find something better. And if we were actually doing this for real, we would have a first round and a second round and maybe a third round. And so you want to cut out the low-hanging fruit, the easy ones. You can get rid of those, and then maybe this one might make it, so you're going to give it a bigger score. And this one's a rock star. I want to hang this one on my wall. You know, it's the grand prize winner, and you're going to give it a high score, so you know that you're going to push it to the next round. Because you're not only judging an individual photo here, but you're also kind of gaming a system that you don't know what the other judges in the room are actually scoring the photo. So if you want a photo to move to the next round, you better give it a high number so that in case Allison doesn't like it that much, it'll still average out to get into the next round so you can continue to push it forward. So there's a little bit of thought to how you actually, score something like this. But for me, this image, even though it fits in the challenge, it's all about this man being physically challenged. And honestly, when I look at this image, I don't believe it. I mean, I believe he's challenged. He's in a bicycle wheelchair, but the moment, it looks pretty set up to me. It looks like it's not even a real moment. It doesn't have a lot of composition going for it, and it looks like more of a snapshot to me. It's not something I want to hang on my wall. It's not something I want to see win the HIPAA contest either. So, does it really give it the, I mean, it's okay. Does it deserve a 10 that I'm going to give it? It's not really a 10, but I don't want to see it in the next round. Sorry. So I gave it a 10.
So I sort of, this is what makes it interesting, is that I gave it like a mid vote, because I like it. I don't think it should be a winner, but I don't want to see it totally disqualify. And this is where it's a challenge for us as judges, is that there's a lot more images coming, but you kind of don't know what they are, yeah, I know there'll be better images, but I still kind of like the positioning of this guy. I like the rim lighting. It actually looks better on our screens than up there. So I gave it just enough of a score that I wanted it to see it hold in the possibilities, but I didn't totally disqualify it.
أنا بالنسبة لي أنظر إلى هذا العمل كموضوع، هل هو يميل إلى الصورة الصحفية أم يميل إلى صور حياة الناس؟ لما يكون المحكم في حيرة من هذا الأمر، أكيد راح يقف أمام مفترق طرق. 50 زائد 1 نجاح، 50 وسط، 50 زائد 1 نجاح، 50 ناقص 1 معناته العمل غير ناجح. كان بإمكان أن المصور أن يخرج بفكرة أجمل يستغل هذا الإنسان من ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة، كان ممكن أن يطلع من عنده عمل جميل جدا. فلذلك أنا أميل بأنه لل50 زائد 1 يعني نجاح، فلذلك أعطيته 53 درجة من مجموع 100. شكرا.
What are we judging? You said 1 out of 10. You said out of 10, but we're judging out of 100.
Give it a 10.
Oh, really? That low? Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that, as an editor, sorry, I can't take this off. Bring it really in. But that's scary. Come on. Oh, YouTube. Oh. I mean, we have two other judges that gave it in the 50 range, and I gave it a 10. Does that sound harsh? Probably. But I've spent the last 12 years at National Geographic, and very close. I'm very close. I can hear myself in the speakers. And you have to make decisions, and you have to make quick decisions. And I get assignments that have 90,000 photos of them, And when you have to look at 90,000 photos, you learn. I don't know. It's like a trained eye, like a good photographer. You want to take that picture. I know I want that picture, or I don't want that picture, and it happens like this. And I know I don't want that picture, so I gave it a 10. And it's like, does it deserve that? No, but I know there's going to be something better coming along. Maybe not in this set of images, but I know out of the 500 that we had to look at in the challenge, there was better. And we had proof of that, last night on the stage. So anyway. I guess so as an image, I like this one a little bit better. I don't really have that much to say about it. It's not that exciting. There's the entry point for me is, the hand breaking the boards. Beyond that, it's not much else to look at. I mean, one of the things that I need in an image is an entry point and something that keeps me there. That means it needs to have a couple different layers. It's like it's a one-shot wonder. It's just about the action of the breaking of the boards, and then that's it. It doesn't really say anything except, okay, this guy was challenged to break the boards and he did it. Okay, it's another one that I can say, goodbye, I hope there's something better. So I'll give this one a 20, but that still won't, make the cut to the real good ones, which should be the 80s and the 90s.
You want to go?
اوكي. نعم. العمل ايضا واحد من الاعمال المصطنعه. عندما نقارن العمل الفائز بالجراند برايز امس، تحدي من نوع اخر مختلف تماما عن هذا العمل اللي هو مباشر. اثنين، الإيديت التعديل اللي موجود في هذا الصورة ضعيف جدا. الخلفية بلاك سوداء، ماكو شيء. لا يمكن لهذا العمل أن يتبوأ مكانه من بين الصور حتى اللي يحتويها الكتاب. أنا انطيتها 35 حتى أكون very generous، كريم جدا.
Oops. This felt, set up. Technically, it's better than the last one, but it's it's not holding the attention that much, so it was a lower score.
Chicken to say what you got? You gotta give the number.
Oh, I gave it a 75, but sorry. I gave it a 75 because I wanted it to stay in the running because I'm still at a point where I'm not sure what's in here. I mean, I know what's in here because I've looked, but I'm saying that I don't know, like if we were just judging cold, that, but I still like it enough that I want it to stay in there. Not as low as Ken.
All right, so we've had 3 images already. Disabled man in a, trike doing laundry, karate guy, and now we have another challenged person. But for me, this image, I'm not sure it's going to win the contest, or even tonight's contest, but it has a lot more elements going for it. I mean, if you look at this image, it has an entry point. I mean, you can't help but look at that guy, standing there. And then it goes back. It has some depth. It has some landscape. And this is what I was talking about before, in the karate photo or whatever martial art that was, it's kind of a, one-shot thing. You look at the image, and then you're done. And this one, you look at it, and you go, why is he standing there? It asks a question. You get to, your eye moves around the frame. After you look at him, what's the next thing you see? You might see the mosque in the background because it's a little bit lighter. I mean, think about literally when you're choosing your images to enter in a contest, how your eye moves around in the frame. There's literally devices, they're called eye tracking devices. You can do this in your own head. You can close your eyes, you can look at an image. How long does it hold you in the frame? You know, you have a rectangle, you have a square, whatever format you're shooting. You know, you can do this for yourself in your own images. What do I see first? What do I see second, third, fourth? How long do you stay there? The longer you stay in that frame, the more interesting and successful that image is. And it's not about good or bad. It's the success of holding the viewer's attention. And this image, for me, holds my attention longer than the previous two. So for me, I'm going to go, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to stack up. This is one of those images that is kind of on the precipice. It's starting to have enough structure and interest for me, color-wise, composition-wise, that I'm going to keep this one in. I'm going to give this one a 60 because I know that'll get it over the hump to keep it into the next round.
I would agree with everything Ken said. I like that it has more layering to it, more depth. It's definitely more interesting than the others. I would probably go a 75 on this. I haven't actually voted on it yet, but I think it's definitely worth keeping in the group.
أليسون كريمة جدا. أليسون كريمة جدا. الآن من أنظر للعمل هذا أقرأ هذا العمل لم يشد انتباهي ساق الشاب اللي معوق. عيني الآن أشوفها ما مستقرة، تتحرك على العمود اللي موجود يمين الشاب أو على الجامع اللي موجود على اليسار أو على الأبنية اللي بالخلف. عيوني ما مستقرة. نعم. أسأل نفسي كمحكم، لماذا هذا الوقوف على حافة السطح؟ عندما تصنع صورة عليك أن تخدع أولا المحكم. اخدع المحكم بعمل يلقى أو يحظى بالقبول والرضا من قبله. أنا أنطي هذا العمل 50+1. أوكي.
Yeah, you have to score it, otherwise we won't go to the next photo.
Gotcha.
As you can see, there's challenge is an amazingly large word. I mean, when you think about all the ways you can use that word, but so many photographers used it as a literal challenge to the handicapped, and I think by the time we previewed all the photos, so one thing that we did do, and it's always a good thing to do, is you don't score when you first walk into a room and look at a set of photos. And I just keep using that 500 number as an example. That's just a random number I pulled out of my head as, okay, you sit down, you look at the challenge, We've got 500 photos to look at, and you skim through them first. So you have kind of an idea of the range of, and I'll say talent, the quality of the images that you have to work with. And that's from, 0 to 100, the worst photo to the best photo, or successful to unsuccessful, however you want to state it. And so you have kind of an overview, a quick run. It's like looking at everybody's faces in the room. You kind of know who's out there. Well, the same thing when you start looking at a set of images. And when you see this repetitive theme over and over again, you kind of get this hint that photographers are trying really hard to come up with this idea of challenge, and they've honed in on the physically handicapped. And in some ways, I think that's I guess I don't know how to say this, but it's an easy out. It's the easy solution to challenge. And it immediately raises red flags in my book and says, okay, for every one of these I see, there's an easy solution. Handicapped person, I'm going to look at that photo actually a little bit harder. Just like what I said with the first image. It seemed kind of like an easy snapshot, like, oh, I know Uncle Ben down the street. I'll put him in a picture and submit it to the contest. How hard did you actually work to get that image? And this one, you got a guy going down the middle of a street. Should I actually believe that's a real scene or not? And for me, being a newspaper photographer, pretty much a hardcore journalist, if you set something up like that, you could get fired from your job. And I take those same ethics to the images that I look at in the contest. Is it real? And I kind of wonder why this guy's going down the middle of the street with scooters and, a big boxes of stuff on the bikes. Does it have a central focal point? Do you look at the wheelchair guy first? Sure. Is there other things going on? It seems pretty convenient, but I'm not going to say it's set up or not. But I do have to be honest that I asked that question. It's in the back of my mind, and it's just part of my DNA as a journalist to ask that question, to be a pessimist. It's just how I've been raised. As an image, it's just okay in my book. I'm going to give it a 30.
I already voted. I gave it a 30, but for different reasons. I don't know that that's a big consideration in this contest. I think it's a big consideration in many contests. I think it's really important to read the rules and what the stipulations are, because there were things that definitely were set up in this. But for me, more, it's technically not a great image. There's not the scope and the scan that I felt we had with the guy that's looking over the, the water and the mosque with the leg. It's just there's too much going on to really know what the point of focus is. So that was my feeling with it. It's a little too chaotic.
بالضبط اتفق مع ما تفضلت به أليسون، انه هناك فوضى عارمه موجوده بالصوره. هناك موضوع اسمه التحدي. البطل اللي هو من ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصه احتل بالصوره بما يناسب تقريبا 15 الى 20% الصوره. الباقيه الحركه مالتهم غير طبيعيه. بالضبط مثل ما ذكرت أليسون، فوضت عن هذه الصورة. 30 جدا كافي عليها. شكرا.
We came to the conclusion that it's, if you voted under 50, that your picture was pretty much going to be out.
So sometimes you get images in contests and, you know, they might look interesting. I'm going, is this one really entered in the right category? Should it be general color? I mean, it's kind of an interesting photo, but it's kind of a leap to think of what the challenge is here. So I honestly wouldn't even talk about it as long as I'm talking about it now. I would just kind of get a 10 and move on, because I don't really think it fits in this category at all. Not that it's not interesting to look at. You kind of wonder what's going on, but it's not for me.
Ken has a really good point. You know, when you read through the material, you really want to think about, are you putting your image in the right category? You know, don't just throw it in the challenge because it's the challenge. If there's a color category, put it in the color category. If this was in the color category, then maybe there would be a possibility. But yeah, for me, this is a 5 because it's not even, not that it's not a good photo. I think it's a fine photo. It's just that there's just no way this even has a potential to be in the final selection of the challenge, in my opinion.
نعم نعم. لو تتذكرون أصدقائي الأعزاء، في بداية كلامي من تحدثت بأنه قلت ينبغي على المحكم أن ينظر إلى الموضوع، ومن ثم ينتقل إلى الفكرة، ومن ثم ينتقل إلى التكوين، ثم ينتقل إلى عناصر. مثل ما تفضلوا الأفاضل، أنه هذه الصورة ما لها علاقة بأدوات الحلاقة، ما لها علاقة في موضوع التحدي. فلذلك بأنه على طول نكست، 5 زيادة نكست على طول تغير إلى يعني أنا ما أعطي ولا درجة، ما لها علاقة بالموضوع فيه. شكرا.
Sorry for the delay. We don't see the next photo until all 3 of us have entered the score, so a new image is coming up. So I guess I'm part of the challenge is looking at this and then trying to figure out what to say on the fly like this. A photo pops up and I'm supposed to tell you what I think about it. So the pause there is me going, what to say positive and what to say negative about it, and why would I, and how would I score it? So sorry for the slight delay. It's funny, I look at this picture and I look at it as potential. And by that I mean, it's a cool situation, but as an image, I don't find it successful. I would be looking at this in a series going, okay, I want the train to come closer and closer and closer, and I want to pick that frame. You know, I go, there is a better image here. I like the idea of it, but I don't like the execution. I don't like the edit. I want there to be more to this image. There's too much on the left, lower left for me. It's just not a successful enough image for me. And I'm going to give this one a low score too, maybe a 25.
I'd probably have to give this a lower score as well. I like what's going on. I think it's interesting. I just don't think it's really, you know, in the running for what we will potentially see in this contest. So I'm already anticipating that I'm going to see a lot more stronger images. You know, Ken had a good point that I just want to say that we as judges, as a team, went in and said that we wanted to do a skim and look at all the images before that we had an idea. Just, I think it's very important to have the context of what we're looking at, just overall, because you don't know if you just go into this and you're just like blind, like, I don't know what we're going to see. So we did have that, but I think that when you're choosing your images, it's really important to think about being unique. We saw a lot of images like this of trains, people crammed on trains, and we saw a lot of like ox cart, some festival, and so, you know, when you're seeing a lot of things that you know people are photographing, and some people are obviously on photo tours or other people, like, as photographers, you should be looking at a lot of imagery. You should be looking at images in books, magazines, what's out there. And if you're seeing that everybody has photographed this, you know, same festival, this one situation, go in another direction, you know? Find something that's yours, that's your sense of style, that someone's going to look at a picture and go, wow, this looks like Ash took this, or this looks like Ken or Allison or Deep took it. You know, you want to find that sense of your photo. Because even if it is an iconic photo, something that's been photographed to death, if you make it your own, then okay, that's got potential. But this is really cool, but it's just it's something that somebody caught and but they haven't made it theirs. So I would have to low score this just for the sake of this contest.
فيما يتعلق في رأيي بهذه الصورة، مئات الآلاف من هذه الصور، مئات الصور أو آلاف من هذه الصور مرقت أمام عيني. أنا أعطي رسالتي إلى المصور صاحب هذه الصورة. لربما أكون مزعج، أنا هاي طبيعتي، يعني عندي الصراحة والصدق لا أحيد عنه. هذا لو يشترك بها في المسابقات الدولية المعروفة، في المسابقات الدولية يفتر ما بين 100-150 مسابقة، يحصل ميدالية ذهبية، فضية، برونزية، يحصل تيجان، بس ما لها مكان في جائزة حمدان. هذه الصورة مستهلكة، أنا انطيتها 15، واعتقد حتى ال 15 كافي عليها، مكررة مستهلكة الكثير. يعني احنا كمصورين، كمحكمين، اولا كمصورين وثانيا كمحكمين، نطلع على المسابقات والاعمال اللي تظهر. أنا هذه الصور، حتى هذا الطفل الشاب اللي يرمي بطفله الى الشخص المتعلق في القطار، صور اكثر من عندها، بس ما لها مجال في جائزة حمدان ان تفوز بجائزة. ف 15 اعتقد انصفته.
So as we move along and, you know, literally come up to the next image, you're continually comparing. I mean, you all have seen these images, right? You're looking at them. If you had to pick a winner right now, which one would you pick? You know, you have that in your mind all the time. You don't have to tell me. I know which one I would pick if I had to. And so not only are you judging individual images, but you're judging them against the last one that you've seen, the first one that you've seen as a collection. You start to develop a catalog in your head. It's just part of the process of weeding out the images. Again, I mean, this is a fine image. It tells a little bit of a story. You're curious about the people playing on the roof, but quality of light, moment, is it something I want to hang on my wall? Is it a contest winner? No. So I'm gonna pass it over, and I'm gonna give it a 15. You know, the number doesn't really mean anything. It's just that I don't think this one's worthy of a 1 through 5 place in the HIPAA contest.
I went 10 with this one. I mean, because it's purely a documentary image. It's just, you know, really kind of capturing maybe a moment of, you know, slight interest in you know, with the satellite dishes versus them playing, but it doesn't, there's no way I'm visualizing this being on a big screen and winning. So, and it's a little hard to read for me.
فيما يتعلق في رأيي أيضا المشتتات الموجود في هذه الصورة كثيرة جدا، وأبطال الحدث اللي موجودين هم أيضا متبوئين حيز قليل جدا في كل المشهد في كل الصورة، فما راح أعطيهم أكثر ما اللي تفضل به مستر كين ومدام أليسون، بس فقط 15 كافية جدا عليها.
So I look at this photo and my first impression is, wow. I mean, it's the first image we've had so far that is at least a moment. It's got some action to it. It's got a nice tonal range. Is it a great composition? No, but at least it has some physical movement to it. It's got some peak action. Maybe it fits in the challenge category. How it stacks up in the end, I don't know. But at least it has some impact. And you know, the boxers have impact, sure, but the image has impact to me too, because at least it grabs my attention. And so I might get this one a 55 just to see how it stacks up in the final, in the next round.
I think that it's a 60. I'd like it to stay in the competition because I feel like it fits the criteria. I feel like technically it's good. It's got, you know, something that's compelling. That's definitely one of the stronger images we've seen so far. Same thing that Ken has to say, that it's got, leaves my eye to linger on it a little bit more. So I would like to see it maybe as a potential.
طبعا اتفق بما تفضل به كين. العمل مريح بحيث على طول النظر مالتك يتجه لصوب ابطال هذا العمل. بها اكشن، بها حركه، صوره صحفيه تميل الى التحدي. ايضا نعطيها 55.
Um, Lovely image. Um, I'm not sure this is a challenge image. I mean, for me, this is one I'm going to look at, I'm going to appreciate. I like the tonal range, I like the composition. This is something that, you know, if I was on vacation, I would shoot this picture and be happy with it, or if I was walking along the beach, I would, you know, I would be happy with this image too. But I don't think it fits in the challenge category. I don't see much of a challenge in the image, though I like it. It doesn't mean I'm going to give it a low score just because I don't think it fits. But I do like the image.
It's a low score just because it doesn't fit the criteria right off the bat. Like, this for me would just be fast. You know, Ken refers to hanging things on the wall, which, you know, that's not something that I think, because I don't always think of, like, for me, when I think of putting something on my wall, I think of it being beautiful or something, but not every picture I think I want to put on my wall. But it's more, is it something, this is just me personally, but is it, because this I would actually like to see on my wall, but there's a lot of pictures that I wouldn't. I feel like I want, I know what Ken's saying, but just to make sure you're not taking that like literally, you know, because it doesn't have to be really beautiful. It just has to be something that's really compelling. But here, this is just simply not fitting the criteria. So if it's not fitting the criteria, that's just a really easy low score right there, off.
ايضا اتفق مع كين أليسون. عمل رومانسي ما له علاقه بالتحدي، يعني ديفرنت بالضبط، فما اعطيها يعني على طول نكست، يعني انتقل الى الموضوع الاخر، الصوره الاخرى ما بيها درجه.
So here's another, I mean, just like the previous image, you have kind of a central entry point into an image. But this one touches you a little bit differently. It's not action, but what do you feel? You look at this image and you can't help but have some type of emotional connection to it, and wonder what's happening with this little girl. Why is she walking around through these dilapidated surroundings? Could just be slums, could be the aftermath of an earthquake or some kind of disaster. But it's an image that brings out your own experiences. I mean, every time, each one of you is different. You look at this picture and think something different. And it's based on your collective experience, you know, what you've seen in your life. You always bring that to an image. You wonder, I might wonder something different about this based on places I've been, places I've seen. But we all bring something to that. And at least this image is evocative on that level. Do I think it fits in the category? Actually, yes, because this young girl, you know, is challenged by her surroundings, her circumstances. Do I think the framing is wonderful as a composition, as a photograph? It's not terrible. And it, so far it stands up to the images that we've seen on the level that we've seen, that I'm going to have to give this one a pass to the next round. So I'm going to give it a 65 to make sure that I get to see it in the next round. Not that I've decided it's the best one.
I would give this a 60, probably a 60 to keep it in. But it's like Ken said, you bring so much to what you've seen, and I do so much post-disaster conflict work. Like for me, this doesn't evoke that much of a feeling. To me, it's a girl walking through some dilapidated situation, but there's too many questions. I don't know. Is she challenged? I mean, she fits the category because it looks like she is in her surroundings. She's walking barefoot through this area. But again, because I've seen so much of this work, it really bothers me that it's technically not a good photo. I feel like this garbage in the front it's distracting. The light that's surrounding her, I still want to see it to be technically a good photo, and it needs some work on it. And to me, that's just getting in the way. Like I was talking earlier, if technically it's not correct, it's going to get in the way of the story and the emotion and the image. If this had been kind of burned in and worked on, this could have been, I think, a lot more powerful. But it's, I would keep it in as a potential, but maybe I'd give it a 60 just to sort of see where it goes.
قراءتي لهذا العمل أنه أول شيء يميل إلى الصورة الصحفية. الصورة الصحفية أيضا داخلة في خضم التحدي. مثل ما شرحت لكم في بداية التعريف أنه اعتبرت العنصر الثالث اللي هو التكوين قلب الصورة النابض. العمل اللي موجود أمامي خالي من أي جمالية بالتكوين. قاعدة الأثلاث أو قواعد الأثلاث معدومة تماما. فلذلك ما أتمنى بأنه أن يكون هذا عمل، شوف لو باتر المصور من الجزء الأسفل، ماخذ من الجزء الأسفل ومطلي إلى الفضاء الأعلى، كان يبين طريقة الحطام اللي موجود في المبنى أكثر. ومثل ما تفضل سيد كن، هل هي زلزال، هل هي حروب، هل هي رياح، هل هي أعاصير، ما معروفة. فلذلك بأنه أحرمها تماما من أن تدخل في المرحلة الثانية.
Adib, what score did you give it?
Sorry?
What score did you give it?
50.
35.
55.
Yeah, 35.
So, when we, sorry. So when I talked earlier, I'm going to circle back around to something we talked about earlier. Every judge brings something different from our own experiences to each one of these photographs. So if I had just loved that photo and wanted to make sure that it got into the next round, Adib might not have liked that photo. He gave it a low score. I gave it a little bit higher score. And I've started off all my tough talk about, weeding out photos, giving low scores and stuff. And I was kind of on the fence about that one. So you're thinking about that as you're judging too, because maybe I do want to see it in the next round. He doesn't. So you might actually give it a little bit higher score. So that's part of the process of judging too. And it is what it is, right or wrong, if you feel strongly about that's something, you need to make sure that it's at least seen in the next round, so you can talk about it if you have that opportunity. Just off the cuff for me, this image, sure there's a challenge of getting up the mountain, but it just feels like a lovely landscape picture. You have a very small person there in the background, but I don't think this really fits the true nature of what we're looking for in the challenge category. It's another one that's like the beach photo. I like it. It's lovely to look at, but I'm going to pass this one over too. I'm going to give it a 15.
Glommed onto the idea that you do the really low to make sure it doesn't get in if everybody else like says it's a little bit higher. But yeah, it's an evocative image. I would actually put this on my wall, but I wouldn't vote for it in the contest. It's just simply too hard to read. So I looked at doing a little bit higher scores when I was voting because I thought, oh, I like this image somewhat, but I don't like it enough that I want to see it get into the next round. So that was kind of my thinking process with it. I wasn't doing like a lot of 5s or 10s. It was more like if I saw something like this, okay, it's still low enough that I'm going to make sure it's not getting in the next round pretty much. But you know, I would do a 25 on this simply for the not fitting the criteria of the challenge.
التحدي الأكبر في هذا العمل هو وصول المصور إلى هذا المكان. هذا أكبر تحدي. بس من الحرام جدا أن يصل مصور إلى مثل هكذا مكان في هذه الظروف المناخية القاسية اللي هي أكبر تايتل أو عنوان للتحدي، أن يخرج بهذا العمل الضعيف. يعني عمل ضعيف حرام، يعني تعطي بنسبة 5% أو 3% من كل المشهد اللي موجود، هذا حرام. أنت بطل هذه الصورة، وأنت بطل هذه الرحلة، وأنت أقدمت إلى هذا المكان بشق الأنفس. عليك أن تصنع صور من وزن ثقيل، فلذلك أنا ما راح أعطيها أكثر من يعني 15.
That's interesting that you looked at it as the photographer's challenge. I'm thinking of the subject. It's like, oh, it's a photographer.
What happened?
You did just that, yeah?
Not working.
Oh, sorry. This is about the worst photo I've ever seen. And you can see why. It's just a blue square. We're having some, anyway. Sorry? No, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It's okay.
I know what
It's
the
okay.
photo is. I have to say that when I was, oh, sorry, got to take these off. When we were scanning through the photos the first time, this is one that jumped out at me that I liked initially. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. You know, it's the light point in the room. I mean, if you walk into a dark room and there's a single light on, what do you look at? You see it first. And when you see any number of photos that are all kind of the same palette, the same thing, and your eye catches on a composition that you like, for me, this one caught my eye straight off the bat. And when I came back to it and I spent some time with it, there's so many things that I like about this image. Serendipity is one of those words, I don't know how well it translates, but you look at a scene and you go, everything in that scene is just coming together. You look at the cows on either side of the girl, how they bookend her. They help keep you in this frame. Everything about this has a circular movement that keeps my eye in the frame, and I keep coming back to the girl. And then I look at her, and I look at her body language, the way her legs are, her hands, her arms, everything about this. And it also has a dignity to it. And when I spoke last night of this image too, that word came from me, because I do find that she's in terrible conditions. We're talking about a trash picker. I can't imagine having my life turn into her. It's one of those things that you just look at and you go, wow. But she doesn't look so downtrodden, like she's just there, I guess. And you have to deal with her circumstances. But I don't really, I'm kind of tongue-tied now, but I still enjoy looking at this image. I love the composition, and I love the moment. And everything about it kind of comes together for me. The background could be just a clutter. I mean, this is so close that I know that the frames on either side might be disasters, but you see that one frame and it becomes, okay, that's it. I know that's the frame. And I'm easily going to give this one a 95, and it's going to move on to the next round. And once I see the top images in the next round, then it probably got 100. And I might have scored this one as 100, in the actual scoring. We could probably, do a fact check on me of what I actually gave it, but I know I scored it highly.
I think we all had quite a strong reaction when we saw this image. Yeah, there's so many elements in here that really came together. Dignity is a great word for this. There's something about her that's just unaware of the photographer and in her world. And the framing of this, it takes you really to what makes a good photo, and how do you create that emotion, the emotiveness? How do you create, through gesture, through composition, through light? And this has those elements. It's important the way that she's walking, the way that she's dressed. Her dress struck me almost like she was wearing like a princess dress or something. And that was my comment as soon as I saw this. Like she seemed to emanate being a princess in the middle of all of this garbage around her, which sort of just became color in a way, but the bag and the texture of that, the cloth, and I loved her, the way the legs are separated and the socks that she's wearing, and like Ken said, with the framing of the cows, sort of everything just came together in this image. And many of us didn't do high scores right away on images, and I know that we did with this, and it just was a very well-deserved winner, I have to say. Well done.
كم أعطيتيها؟
Oh, what grades did I give it? I would say at least 95, if not 100.
Okay. No.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
Same as before, because it was, yeah,
No.
95.
Okay.
I think we were all a little reticent on the 100s. We were like, I don't know, but yeah, I'd say 95.
شكرا أليسون. أنا في وجهة نظري بأنه تفكير المصور اللي قام بتصوير هذه الصورة والتحدي الأكبر اللي حملها واشترك بها في موضوعة التحدي هذا يحسب له، يحسب للمصور، ونجح المصور في أن يوظف هذا العمل في مكانه ومجاله الصحيح. نعم، كلنا احنا كمصورين شايفين أعمال وداخل مسابقات، داخل مسابقات عامة، علينا أن نفرز أنه لما أنت عندك مسابقة بها الجراند برايس، الجائزة الكبرى اسمها التحدي، في حين المسابقات الأخرى اللي موجودة يخليها كمحور عام، تفترض تاخذ 100 150 جائزة بشيء قبيل. هذا العمل إذا تنظر عليه مثل ما وصفته أليسون، أنه تشوف الأميرة، يعني كأنه بأميرة لبسها جميل جدا بس متسخ بسبب القمامة. ماذا تبحث هذه الطفلة؟ تبحث عن ربما أكل أو شيء تاخذه تجمعه من أجل تبيعه. الشيء التحدي الأكبر اللي موجود لما تنظر إلى البقر الموجود هنا تشوفه ضعيف، العظام مالته ظاهرة، التفاصيل مال البقر اللي ياخذه بالصورة ظاهرة، مما يعني مجاعة، مما يعني بأنه هذه الإنسانة مع هذا الحيوان عزكم الله أنه يبحث عن طعام لكي يعيش، هذا معترك الحياة. فلذلك أنا أعطيتها درجة جيدة جدا. بالمناسبة أنا أعتبر 50+1 هو نجاح، وبطبيعتي ما أعطيت أكثر من 82. هذا 82 بالنسبة لي كدرجة أعتبرها 100 هذا الشيء. وأريد أشير لكم في موضوع اختلافنا احنا كمحكمين الموجودين هنا. الصور من تصير التصفية راح تنعرض الصور اللي ماخذه سكور عالي، وراح يكون هناك مرحلة ثانية والتحكيم مرحلة ثالثة، لذلك الصورة أخذت استحقاقها الأكبر في هذا الجانب. فأنا أعطيتها 82.
Yeah. Please.
Again, if anybody has any questions
Yeah.
and you'd like to call us out on our poor judging, you can always call us on that. There's one other thing that I'd like to say about that image, and it's juxtaposition, and that's the contrast between what you might find subject-wise in there. When I talked about the dignity, when Allison talked about the dress, those are things that don't seem to be like they should belong in that image, but they're there, and that's what gives it a little bump. It kind of catches your eye and your heart, and all of those elements are in that image. And that's what sets it apart from the rest, I think. Obviously, this is another one of our images that...
We have a question first.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, judges, and it's great to be here on this particular day. The winning image, I just want to know, where is this connectivity between the photographer's eye to the picture? It's like the girl who is there in the middle of the picture, she's seeing on the other side. She's not connecting to the eye of a photographer in any sense. What I feel is like, sorry if my comments are a bit odd. In my view, I see that there is a lot of clutters in the image, including the girl. It's like the brown shades are too much in the picture. So how I can see in a way that it's a outstanding one, that I can see the middle of the image there is a girl. It's like when I see it's like a merge of everything, foreground and as well as the background. So this I want to get answer from you.
I didn't hear that. Did you hear?
I guess I'm not really understanding your point. I'm
No,
sorry.
I mean to say that when I see the picture, it's like foreground and the background. It's all together, seems to be merged together. So I can't pick up that girl in the middle exactly because she's also in the brown shades. The lot of textures in the background is also in the brown shades.
Can you go back on this? It might be actually harder
picture,
to see on the
before,
screen.
Yeah.
We can.
Cannot. Okay. It's actually clear on our screens. You know, we're looking at these big, beautiful monitors, by the way, when we're judging. We're now looking at iPads, which are clear. I think these are a little more washed out, these images, than
It
than what you see. Um, so he's saying it's a little difficult to see the girl from the background. Is that my understanding? Yeah.
Right.
The separation.
Yes.
Um, sometimes that doesn't work, and sometimes it works. In this case, I felt it kind of worked because it's kind of like that. You know, and I don't know if you've seen that, where you're looking at something and you have to kind of let your eyes relax before you see, like the bear in the image or something that is like, it's like a game for your eyes. But it makes you look a little bit more, but it's not lost. It's not like this person's just lost in the background of the image. She emanates in some way, which sort of adds to the aura and the mystery of the photo, I think. You know, it's a really interesting thing. What makes that moment? You know, the gesture, but really what she's wearing is what stood out for me. She's not just like in these I mean, yes, she's dirty, but there was something that was compelling about, you know, the dignity that she was dressed enough despite her dirt, and this, you know, she was dignified enough to get, you know, be dressed up in this. But I think it's a little clearer on what we're seeing. So I hear what you're saying, but thank you for the question. And I don't know if anybody else wants to respond to that. Is there anybody else that had a question before we move on? Good, okay.
Obviously, this is another one of our winning images. And the word I used before, the juxtaposition, you easily see that in this image. And does it fit in the challenge? Yeah, it does for me. And that's life in conflict. You know, I don't know the full circumstances of the image. Maybe this is just daily life, normal for people. It's not, but it's not normal in my life. So it does feel like a challenge. I don't have to deal with, you know, walking to school every day and having to deal with, you know, AK-47s in my backyard. Yeah, I won't go there. But I like the stare. I like the intensity. It is the entry point for me. You know, normally with people with guns, you're going to look at them first, but you're drawn to this, you know, young boy walking down the street with his backpack. He's going someplace, and he's going, you know, something's going on here, and it has some intrigue for me. So I did gravitate to this image as one of the ones I liked straight off the bat. And I'm going to give this one a 75 because I want to make sure I see it in the next round.
I gave this an 80. I agree with what Ken said. It's a different kind of challenge. It's a universal challenge for many countries, unfortunately, and it's sort of a more domesticated daily slice of life of showing war, putting a face behind it rather than just, you know, the actual act of shooting, but just it just sort of captured this child's daily challenge.
أنا بالنسبة لي الصورة تحمل شقين، صورة صحفية تميل إلى أيضا صورة صحفية وتحدي في آن الوقت في وقت واحد. يذكرني نظرة الطفل هذا الموجود أو الشاب الصغير هنا بنظرة لاعب الطفل نفسه اللي هو لاعب الشطرنج اللي كان يلعب الشطرنج ويتحدى بالمقابل اللي مرت علينا كلجنة التحكيم. هذا الشيء اللي أزعجني في هذا الصناعة اللي تفضل بها مستر كن وقال صورة مصطنعة أو شيء من قبيل. نعم أنا أتفق وياه 100% مصطنعة. زي الشخص اللي لابس الملابس اللي حامل البندقية يجلب الشك والريبة إنه يقول لك بأنه شايل سلاح. السلاح كصحفي أني كمصور صحفي مو سلاح قتال، السلاح هذا بسيط، مو سلاح من قتال أو شيء من قبيل. هكذا أترجمه. الزي مالته مو زي عسكري كذا. بس كفكرة أنا انطيتها 65. كفكرة انطيتها 65، يعني من ضمن الخطوات اللي تميل بها النجاح. التكوين كله جميل جدا، الشغل مالته جميل جدا، الشك بالملابس، شك بالبندقية، بس كفكرة راقت لي جدا. 65.
أستاذ أديب ممكن سؤال؟
نعم.
ممكن تقلنا قديش كان ممكن يضيف لك لو قريت الوصف تبع الصورة؟
العفو أستاذ محمد، أنا الوصف ما يستوقفني بالضبط، يستوقفني العمل اللي يسرق نظري بالضبط. اسمح لي. اي والله.
I want everyone to hear that.
People should know that too. We really have no caption or metadata. It purely is about the image that I'm sure that's mentioned, but we really do not have any. I mean, can we say that we at some point we felt that to really be fair to the photographer, because we were all doing this without talking, we were not having this conversation, we were actually just there voting ourselves, that at some point we felt as a team that we really did want to have a verbalization, a discussion that was important to us, to put it in context, because like Ken said before, we all come to it with our own pre-visualization and our own experiences. Like there were things that I didn't see in some of the photos that when they were pointed out to me, I was like, oh, okay, that's different. That's a different perspective then for me to put my vote forward. An example being the pictures with the young girl and the wedding dress. I didn't realize that that was a sort of artistic take on child brides. I wasn't really sure what was going on, and that's my visual limitation or whatever, but it was really interesting, and I'm sure that once we started talking about things, there were other things that I brought up, or all of us as a team. So I think that helped a lot, but that's one thing to maybe think about when you're submitting, that it really is about the visualness, because some people and some contests really bring captioning into it as an important part of storytelling, and this is not that contest.
بس مداخلة ما تحدثت به أليسون هو ذات اللي موجود في داخلي. مختصر للسؤال الأستاذ محمد، مشكور، واللي تفضلت على الإجابة. الصورة تعبر عن 1000 كلمة، لذلك المحكم ينبغي عليه أن ينظر للعمل ويقرأ العمل ويترجم العمل ويعطيه حقه. هكذا ممكن أن يكون التايتل المصور شاعر رومانسي أو شيء كبير يكتب تايتل جميل جدا، وممكن المحكم يقرأ التايتل ويعطي درجة عليه. بس المحكم الصحيح اللي هو يقرأ الصورة ويعطي استحقاقها المستحق. شكرا. شكرا.
Question. The last photo? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
الأساتذة الحكام، طبعا أنا أحترم وجهات نظركم، بس سؤالي يعني الصورة اللي قبلها، يعني هل نحن إذا شكينا إذا الصورة كانت مصطنعة أو كانت غير مصطنعة، هل هذا يؤثر على الانتقال؟ يعني مثلا إذا كان في شك، وأنا لاحظت الصورة اللي تبع السلاح، حسيت الإصبع على الزناد، وهذا الطفل يعني بريء. وضعية الإصبع فيها نوع من الجاهزية للقتال أو جاهزية يعني حسها مصطنعة أنا أكثر من تكون طبيعية. وهي صورة هاي السلاح نفسها، مع إنه جزء من السلاح وحدا عم بيمشي، أنا شفتها مكررة جدا جدا جدا. وفي اجمل منها بكثير. التكوين كان جميل جدا، تكوين الصوره جدا جميل، بس عم بحكي كصوره يعني مصطنعه تركيبيه، ووضع السلاح بجاهزيه الاطلاق، الزينات، يعني حاطط اصبعته، هذا طفل قدامه، والطفل هل نظره الطفل على السلاح بتاثر ولا نظره الطفل على الشخص؟ يعني بعتقد النظره العين تلعب كثير دور بالنسبه إذا كان عم يطلع على السلاح ولا عم يطلع على الشخص، فرق كبير يعني، أو إذا نظر لمكان ثاني. شكرا لكم.
I guess for me, that when I looked at that image, I actually blew it up on the screen, and I wanted to know where the child's eyes were looking, and they're not looking at the photographer; they're looking at the person, or in that direction. And the gun isn't actually pointed at the kid, it's kind of pointed down, and it looks like, I guess for me, I could see myself trying to actually, if I was in, I don't know, I'm going to make up some things that are going to make me sound stupid probably. Maybe I'm in Lebanon, maybe I'm in the Gaza Strip or something like that, you know, where you would expect this kind of scene to happen. I would try to photograph it that way. I can see myself trying to use that guy with the gun as an entry point to show the tension that's happening all the time, like a normal kind of everyday life. So when I looked at that image, I didn't see it as a setup. I hope it's not. If it is, then, and if I knew it was, I would vote it out, actually. So, to your point, I don't know either way. But I know that if I was a photojournalist in that scene, and I've actually done that, I went to Bosnia. I tried to do that same thing. I used the UN troops that were there as entry points and tried to show how people were living on the streets in Mostar when it was under siege. So I can see that as a tool to create an image that has some kind of storytelling to it. It doesn't answer your question about whether it was set up or not. We won't know that unless we ask the photographer, I guess.
Okay, please. الميكروفون ده
Yeah, if I thought it was set up, I would not vote for it. But I didn't feel it was set up. I felt like it was a pretty normal scene.
نعم.
أستاذ عماد سأل إنه لو حسيتوا إنه المشهد معد، فهل هذا بيأثر على تقييمكم؟
نعم. احنا العفو، اذا تسمحوا لي، كمحكمين، كفريق محكمين، ما ينظر انه هذا العمل مصطنع او مو مصطنع. اذا نظر المحكم فراح يضع نفسه في دوامه كبيره جدا. الاخ عماد مصور صحفي في جريده البيان، مصور معروف والى حضوره والى جوائزه والى فايز بمسابقات كثيره جدا، واحترم عطاء الفوتوغرافي جدا. مثل ما تفضل كن، انه البندقيه ما مصوبه باتجاه الطفل، انه الحامل البندقيه بحاله وقوف عادي، واللي يحمل السلاح بهالطريقه هذا الوقوف مالته، دائما ما يترك البندقيه ويمد يده، لازم يكون بوضع راحه، اصبعه وكل شيء من قبيل هذا. احنا ننظر الى فكره الموضوع، الى تكوين الصوره، فلذلك نجح المصور في الحصول على كومبوزيشن، تكوين جميل جدا، وحصل على موضوع جميل جدا. شكرا.
So, can I just make one more comment on this? Sorry. Because with this particular contest, this is not a criteria, correct? I just want to clarify that, because we can, yeah, you accept that it's set up. So I just want to be clear that this is a judging, I don't know if the right word's bias, but it's you know, it's because there's many photos that are in this contest that are set up. So I agree with Ken. If we're looking at something that's given to us as a documentary photo, we would like to believe that it's a documentary photo. But just to be clear, with this contest, that's not a criteria. There were things that were set up like that. I'll, again, mention that girl with the wedding dress. That was kind of obvious, but, it's just, it's not necessarily going to affect your score, but it could. So there you have it.
لماذا لا تتفقين معايا؟
What? Wait, what? Why don't you agree with me? Okay.
مترجمة.
يعني هل ينظر بالتحكيم إلى الأعين تكبر، يعني نجيب كلوز على العين تكبر، هل في لجنة التحكيم ينظر بذلك للعين؟ أين تشاهد النقطة الأساسية للموضوع؟ هل هذا له علاقة في انحراف العين قليل أو بالنسبة لكم؟ يعني الطفل إذا كان عم ينظر على الشخص اللي ماسك السلاح، هل يؤثر إذا كان ينظر إلى السلاح؟ نرفض هذا بس.
ممكن أجاوب بشكل. إحنا ننظر أخ عماد، ننظر إلى العمل كعمل متكامل، ما ناخذ جزئية. يعني ما ناخذ جزئية العين، نظرة العين. إحنا بدنا نصور كلوز أب عين. إحنا بدنا ننظر كفكرة العمل، كسبجكت كامل، عمل كامل. بدنا ننظر إليه ومن ثم بأنه بدنا نضع معايير للدرجة المستحق عليه. أنت تأخذ لي جزئية العين، بس أنا أخذ لك جزئية الفكرة كفكرة موضوع كامل متكامل. جزئية العين أنا ما أنظر، إحنا نقول بأنه بده ينظر على عين بعين أو شيء خبيث، بس أنا أخذ كفكرة عمل متكامل من كل جوانبه. هذا اللي أخذه.
Well, I looked at the overall picture, but I definitely looked at the eyes because that's part of the overall picture. We had the ability to zoom in, and we did a lot. I'm sorry, we did a lot of zooming in and out with all our photos because, again, you're trying to tell a story with this image. So the story is the challenge. So you want to know that there's a challenge in there. And as subtle and as small as that seems, the eye contact is the challenge. The challenge is the tension of the boy with the guy with the weapon and the life that he's having to live. So it's not like, oh, if you took a picture and the kid's not looking at the guy with the gun, that's not a good picture. But the fact that he's looking at that, that says the challenge. So that's in my voting, that's what made me give it a higher score, because I'm judging this contest for the challenge. So yes, I did a lot of pinching and pulling on the screen to really zoom in and see that, and again, it's emotion, it's expression. If the kid's just walking, yeah, there's some challenge to living in a country with a gun, but, he's looking a little wary of, this situation, this guy with the gun, so that made it more powerful in my opinion.
But to answer your question more directly, I think if the child was looking directly at the camera, it wouldn't be a photograph. There wouldn't be any tension to it. It would be the child reacting to the photographer. And it's not a photo. And it would have been a 10. It would have been out. Simple. It's like either he's reacting to the scene or the photographer. If he's reacting to the photographer, I don't want to know the photographer's there. I just want to see reality of what it's like to live on the streets there. And so, really, 10 versus a winner in the contest. For this last image, Because Ola wants to have a break, I'm going to give it a 10. No. I'll blame it on her. No, actually, you know, again, you have to stack an image up to what you've seen already, and this has one note to it. It's a destroyed city. It's got a guy walking down the street, but how does it compare to the rest? It doesn't. It's kind of a snapshot. So I am going to give it a 10, not just because Ola told me to.
I had the same feeling that I gave it a 15. It's very, you know, it's just a backdrop of a city. There's really no story in there. It's not very emotive. You know, it's you can see the difference that we're talking about with the last image, I think, where there's some tension. You're still dealing with a war situation, but this is, I don't feel engaged with this photo.
جدا كافي عليها 15. يعني عمل مسرح. Dun, da, 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 dum.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bum,
Bum bum.
bum.
God. Oh. I stretch my legs.
So this is the portfolio category. A totally different beast. Um, and and I say beast with intent because you're looking at a collection of images, and you have to change your mindset when you're judging. Just as you would be talking about anybody's portfolio or essay or collection of work, you have to look at not only individual images, but you have to look at how they add up. What's the sum total? It's almost like putting them on a spreadsheet and valuing each one of those images. You have to almost think about 0 to 100 for each one of the images, and then you have to think about the edit and what's been presented. A portfolio, and this is a cliche that's long been used, is like a chain. You know, you have a chain, and how strong is that chain? It's the weakest link of that chain creates the strength of the chain, right? So if you have a bad image in a set of 10, 2 or 3 of those are not as well accomplished as your first or second photos, then it's going to take down the entire score for the portfolio. And so in a judging, you not only have to evaluate the individual images, but you look at the pacing of the images. What's the first image, the second image, the third image, the fourth image, how it tells us a story, how does it add up, what's the visual narrative? What's the story that this portfolio is trying to tell you? All of those things are considerations, and I'm sure there's something in the back of my mind that I'm, forgetting to actually voice what I'm thinking. But directly for this set of images, I like the content, but I have also seen in the news coverage, I'm going to talk about my collective perception here too, because when you're inundated with photographs in the news and you see some great ones, you also use that, that perception that you bring to looking at everybody's photographs. You're bringing that to the table. I've seen better, boat refugee photos, but as a collection, this is not bad. I'm probably going to give this one, a 70 to make sure I think it gets into the next round. It's not a bad set of pictures, but I do find it slightly repetitive. I think this entry would actually be stronger with maybe 2 less photos in it. Again, going back to that idea of a weak link, you're only as good as your best picture, or however you want to say it. And 2 less photos in here would probably make this a stronger entry.
I actually scored lower on this one. I've seen a lot of these kind of boat images, and I just didn't feel anything from this. I've seen boat images that I literally have been in tears looking at. They're just, you really feel the pain and the emotion of families that have gone through so much that you can't believe that they've suffered so much just to get to where they are, what they've gone through. And I just didn't feel it in this. I know with photojournalism, you're not, you're just there when things are happening. But again, somehow people have brought a really beautiful technical aspect to these images that I've seen published, and I personally can't imagine seeing these published, let alone like winning the contest. I just felt like they were technically just so harsh. I had a hard time getting past that. So if I wasn't feeling it either through the evocativeness of the way the image was shot, I wasn't feeling it through the subject. That was just me. So I gave it, I think I might have given it a 50 because I was like, we could see what's in there because it is a collection of images, but I agree with Ken that there definitely, there could be a couple taken out, but it just didn't do it for me.
وجهة نظري البورتفوليو ينبغي أن يكون يحمل قصة هذا الموضوع. هذا البورتفوليو يحمل فكرة جميلة جدا، ولكن المصور فشل تماما بأنه ممكن أن يكون هذا البورتفوليو بالذات يحوي على 5 صور. وإذا تسمحي لي أستاذ علا تابعي وياي. أكو هناك كيف راح أخلص نفسي؟ يلا بس
خذ المايك بليز عشان يترجم.
فيما يتعلق بالبورتفوليو اللي موجود أمامنا، عملين 3 4 والصورة الأخيرة تحت أستاذة علا، هذا مكرر. 5 أعمال لموضوع معين مكرر، ممكن أن يختصرها المصور بعمل واحد بس فقط أو عملين. يعني ممكن أن يكون البورتفوليو في كل هذا الموضوع السبجكت ممكن يكون 5 صور. هذا العمل لا لزوم له، هذا العمل يتقاطع مع هذا العمل. يعني أشوف، يعني أنا من درسته ما أعطيته درجة أعلى من 50، فلذلك هنا أمامكم أعطيته 41، لأن فعلا تشوف تكرارية، صورة تحت صورة، هذه صورة، هذه صورة، هذه صورة مكررة. فلذلك الموضوع جميل جدا، موضوع بورتفوليو صحفي من الوزن الثقيل، بس أخفق المصور في أن يخلق من هذا الموضوع فد عنوان جميل جدا لبورتفوليو متكامل. شكرا.
I already messed up, went too far, but would you scroll down, Ola, to the bottom of the screen? Okay, here's an example where I know these guys nearly beat themselves to death with these drums, but when you scroll down and look at the bottom 4 images, what do we have? Nearly the same photo over and over and over again. That's a killer right there. I mean, if you can't edit a set of images and give me multiple things to look at, kind of cuts out. I don't move it. Sorry. Then you're not going to get a decent score. Not for me. And especially with repetitive images like that. So this one was almost an instant 10 for me. I didn't want to see it again in the next round.
Oops, what am I doing? I was also at like a 15 with this, just to get it out of the running. I had a hard time reading what the point was. Yeah, it's too much repetition.
أنا أعتقد بأنه فيما يتعلق به بأنه أيضا هذا الموضوع كأنه يعني أمام ليست صور فوتوغرافية، كأنه لوحات تشكيلية. الموضوع ما بي روحية، ما بي روحية.
Are you talking about this one or are you talking about that one?
Sorry?
Adib.
لا أنا أتحدث عن هذا.
He's on a different portfolio.
كيف؟
Are you talking about paintings with this
غريبة.
one?
أنا عندي هذه. ما رحت لا يلا. صار خطأ. أوكي. صار خطأ.
This Adib, that one.
أوكي. Maybe it's a problem. No. أوكي. أقدر تساعديني شوي. خلل فني، عفواً.
I have no idea. He just did that. This is the one he was on, and he started talking about the paintings. This is the one he was looking at.
يعني أنا حقيقة من هذا العمل لم يستوقفني أبد نهائيا، يعني ما راح أنطي أكثر من 20، لأن عمل بقارئ الطبول يعني ما في موضوع أن يشدني، حتى بأنه ممكن بأنه أنا أقرأ التفاصيل مالته، أقرأ الصور اللي موجودة بها، فموضوع بورتفوليو ضعيف، يعني ما بأي شيء، ف20 درجة أعطي، ما أعطي أكثر.
So I would think it would be lucky to have one photo like this if you're shooting a ping pong match, but to have 6 of these photos like that, it's almost unbelievable. Well, then you start looking at the ping pong balls in number 2 and number 6. They look like the ping pong balls in the exact same position. I'm looking at this going, oh, Photoshop. That's a wonderful tool, isn't it? First of all, I don't find it that compelling even if it's real, but I honestly don't even believe it's real. So, yeah, really? It's very real. Yeah? You have the raws. Okay, well, we'll sell the raws, but wow. But it still isn't like the most compelling thing I've ever seen. So it was an out for me. I gave it a 10 just to move on.
Yeah, I didn't give it a much of a score either. I just wanted to move on from this. It just wasn't, not compelling enough for a portfolio possibility. Adib, anything?
طبعا واحدة من الأشياء اللي تخلينا بأنه دائما نتحمس نشارك بجائزة حمدان. وخاصة الخطوتين بالسنة الماضية والسنة الحالية، إنه فريق جائزة حمدان طلب نسخة الرو أو النسخة الأصلية للصورة. من أجل التأكد بأن العمل صحيح غير ملعوب به أو غير متلاعب به. لذلك بأنه العمل غير متلاعب به نهائيا، بس عمل مو واو، يعني مو قوي. أنا أتفق مع كين ومع أليسون. أنا معطيه 15.
How come I'm on totally different? Whatever.
Another one of our another one of our winners. We did the same kind of thing with the single images as we did with the portfolios, where we went through and we scanned them as contact sheets, kind of like we're doing here, and didn't spend a lot of time looking at individual images, just to see what kind of content and what kind of level we had, from repetitious portfolios to ones that had content that might interest you, like this one. And this is another one that caught my eye, and I liked it from the get-go. And because it had a lot of things going for it. Not only was it visual striking, but it had a sense of style that carried through from image to image. And it was evocative. It gave you something to think about. It touched you in a way. And you look at it and you go, I wish I had shot some of those images. I like them. You know, it's like the grand prize winner. One of the things that I look at an image, and if I go, I wish I had shot that photo. You know, that's, if you have a little bit of jealousy that it might, you know, you wish you would have shot that, then that says something special about the image. This set of images, it's just really nicely executed. And I probably gave this one a 75 or so, just to make sure it got to the next round.
I believe I gave this like an 85 or 90. I thought it was really tight. I liked that, again, like Ken said, there was a sense of style to it. I thought it hung together really well. I liked the it seemed well thought out. I really liked the book in there. It sort of was, I don't know, the way that it just had, if it was just all of those interiors, like there was something in there that gave it sort of a bit of an exclamation point. And I think that's really key. It's like you want every single image to be wow, but you really want that theme and sense of style in there. Like, what is it that's bringing it together? That it can't just be like a bunch of photos that look similar, like ping pong balls in the eyes. Like, that's not enough of a subject. That's just something that are similar images. Whereas this, each image has its own sense of really being a profound image.
Can I add something to that? Is that as you're working with your portfolios, you can think of them as a poem, a haiku. Each note comes up, or a piece of music, and then goes down. If you have that kind of rhythm moving out, the detail of the book, the wide shot of the room. If you look at these images as single images, one image, then the next one, they have a rhythm, they have a pacing. It's a visual tone poem. So it's for me as an editor, as a judge, it strikes you on many different levels. So if it's talking that much to me, then it's a set of images that I'm going to keep in.
في هذا العمل البورتفوليو المقدم من قبل المصور، الحق يقال يحمل عدة مواضيع، عدة ثيمات، عدة محاور. البطل الموجود في هذا البورتفوليو هو الظل والضوء. لو تأملنا في الظل والضوء اللي موجود في الأعمال المقدمة، راح نشوفه بأنه يتبوأ منزلة كبيرة جدا وقوية جدا. دخل في هذا البورتفوليو الفن المفاهيمي، دخل به الحياة الصامتة. الفكرة مالته الفكرة واحدة، فكرة جديدة، فكرة جديدة غير مطروقة. لذلك بأنه أنا انتهيت 75. يعني عمل يستحق بقوة، عمل يختلف عن كل الأفكار اللي مقدمة، غير مستهلك، جديد.
Thank you. Is the order of the frames presented to you in this manner? Because when I look at this picture, positioning of the book frame in the middle, it's not. So who actually puts these frames together? Because if the book is the last frame, is presented in the layout that is different to this, you may judge it differently. Would that be fair to say?
I'm not sure how the sequencing worked, but your idea is fundamentally right. I mean, if I'm going to submit a set of images, I'm going to actually make sure that the naming convention on the images is going to be in the order that I want the judges to see them. Very purposeful. I want you to see this photo first, so if I'm going to submit this, I'm going to put 01 underscore Ken's photo, 02, 03, because I'm telling you a story, and I want to write the lead sentence of that story. That means I want you to see this image first, second, third, fourth, because I want to create the tone poem. I want to create the rhythm. I want you to see this first and this last. I want to start strong and I want to end strong, because you're not going to remember everything in the middle, but you're going to remember the first one and the last one. That's the way your brain works, and you can't get around that. Everybody's the same. And so that pacing should be deliberate. You should decide what the judges see. Now, I'm not sure how it worked in this. We all saw the same thing, whether it's file naming convention or how it was submitted, but it's the order that we saw.
Can I ask a question, Ola? Is it, how do you see it? Is it, do you put them in the order that people? No. The same order they upload. Oh, it's the same order that they uploaded. So does the physical numbering of them have anything to do with it? No, just okay, so that's good to know, that it is in the order of which you upload them. So think about that. Yeah, good question.
Um, this is one of those that you have to spend a minute looking at and deciding, you know, is this something that is really strong enough? It's visually intriguing, the idea,
نفسه.
but it's not enough for me to get past. Do I really want this as a winning entry? There's some interesting images. I'm going to be a little bit. I think I was a little bit wishy-washy on this one. You know, I didn't commit to it fully. I probably gave it like a 45 as kind of a good try, but I'm really not convinced that it's going to be one of the winning entries.
I kind of went middle road with it for the same reason. I think I went above like a 50, about a 50. I wanted to see it maybe potentially be in the running, but I didn't think there would be a winner. This would be a winner, but there was something thematic in it, you know, that I felt worked. Something that was a bit creative. That you know, I think that's important, to have some creativity. It wasn't just sports figures, it was a play of shadow and light. And so I thought there was something to that, to bring personal creativity into it.
فيما يتعلق بجهد المصور هنا، ركز المصور على عامل الظل، واللاعب الأساسي في هذه الأعمال كلها اللي معروضة أمام مقامكم الكريم هو الظل، اللي هو اللاعب الأساسي في هذا العمل. المصور بذل جهد. أنا بالنسبة لي أيضا من أريد كمحكم أريد أقيم عمل أو أريد أعطيه الدرجة المستحقة، علي أن لا أغمض ولا أظلم جهد المصور في عمل فكرة معينة أو في شغل معين. أنا بالنسبة لي طبعا اشتغلت بجزئيات من الدرجات وشيء من القبيل، ما أتذكر كم أعطيتها الدرجة، بس هنا لما أريد أقيمه أنا أعطيتها 59، يعني 59 أو تقدر تقول 60 بهذا الشيء، لأن بجهد للمصور. المصور مخلي في باله فكرة جاي ينفذها ونفذها بنجاح ظاهر، فأعطيتها 59.
For me, this set of images is evocative. I don't think the level of individual photography in each image is that great, but I like the story, and I like how it's edited. It's relatively tight. It's not real repetitive. I think by the time I saw this story, I'd already seen a lot of portfolios that weren't successful just because they weren't edited very tightly. And even though I didn't feel like the level of photography for the individual images was that great, I felt that as a portfolio, it was relatively successful. And if you kind of scroll through these, well, actually, you don't have to scroll, but you can see that the photographer took the time to include not only a wide shot, but some details. And that's the rhythm I'm talking. Somebody's trying to tell me a story. And this little set of images really does try to tell me a story. It's an essay. And I can feel for the people there and get an idea of what's going on. I wanted this one to go to the next round too. So I probably gave it about a 65.
Yeah, I would say mine was in that range, maybe 70. We had seen a few stories like this. It's interesting how different themes were coming up. So we would kind of look at like the group of, okay, what about the crowded train? Who wins out of the crowded train? What's the best one, the story out of, you know, this, you know, whatever they're doing, gold, I think here, but, yeah, including the wide shot, the detail, the portrait, the emotion. It's really, really close. But I wanted to see it get in the potential, but I didn't think it was an actual winner, but 70. Deep.
طبعا هذا العمل هو الباحثون عن الذهب. مثل ما تحدث كن انه تعديل المعالجه الرقميه للصور جميل جدا. التكوين عنده في كل الصور اللي طرحت بشكل جميل جدا. بس ايضا الاخراج النهائي للعمل ارجع واقول ما بي كلمه واو او شيء من القبيل، بس من ضمن الاعمال اللي ممكن بانه ان تنتقل الى المرحله الثانيه، فانا اعطيته 68.
When I look at this set of images, I go, wow, what kind of potential. And I don't know if you remember from the challenge round, the train photo with all the people on the front of it. You look at that. I'm going to go back there. You guys remember that one? Train coming and it's like, what could that image have been if it was more successful? This is the same kind of thing. I look at this and I go, I love the black and white tone of the images. I love the setting inside, the grittiness of it. You can just feel it. It's just nice, you know. But it's repetitive. I mean, it's a one-room school, but where is this? Why isn't there one establishing shot outside that gives me some context of where this place is at? It doesn't have the rhythm. It's like the same note over and over again. You know, I could pull one of these images out and put it in the black and white contest, you know, in the general category. But as a story, it's not successful because it doesn't give me enough rhythm in and out. You know, it's like this had the potential to be a really nice story, but the photographer didn't take it to the next step to give me a portfolio that I really want to pass on to the next round. So I probably passed on this one. I probably gave it a 30 just because I liked some of the single images, but I knew it's not going to make it to the final round.
Yeah, we agreed upon this. This is, yeah, a single image might have worked in here. A handful of these are really strong as single images, but there's just not enough of a story. And that's got to be something. Again, it just can't be similar images to tie a portfolio together. It's got to have something, something that's going to be a hook to, you know, like the last one having, you know, the story from establishing to detail to, this is just not, it just doesn't have the story in there.
فيما يتعلق بي أنه نجح المصور في أن يعمل على اللون الأحادي. أتوقع هذا المصور نفس المصور اللي فاز قبل سنتين أو 3 في ثيم الجائزة الكبرى صنع المستقبل. المصور لقى مكان لغرض يصور فيه. هنالك عملين أنا أشوف بأنه ينبغي أن يستبعد ما له علاقة، اللي هو هذا العمل وهذا العمل. أنت لا تشوف أنه المكان الصف أو الرحلات موجود، يعني مكان التدريس هذا مصطنع هذا مصطنع. فأنا أشوف ذني الصورتين أوت، التعديل عنده ممتاز جدا، الموضوع مالته جميل جدا، بس ما قدر ينجح في الإخراج الأخير للمسات الأخيرة. فأنا أعطيته 45.
For me, the one thing a successful portfolio needs, and I said it before, is a strong lead. This set of images for me, I scroll through and I don't find one image that really is an eye burner, that really grabs my attention and hangs on to me. It's okay. I like some of the tonal quality of the images, but it's repetitive, and there's not one image that really grabs me. So I passed on this one as well, and I gave it a low score because I didn't really want to see it in the next round.
I also gave it a low score for the same reasons. Nothing more to say.
أنا بالنسبة نعم أنا بالنسبة لي العمل ممكن أن هناك عمل أو عملين داخل البورتفوليو يصلح أن يكون يعني أن يشتغل به بشكل انفرادي، بس كمجموعة أعمال ضعيف جدا. يعني طغى اللون الأسود دمر الأعمال كلها بشكل جميل جدا. ماكو موضوع، وموضوع مستهلك ومكرر، موضوع مستهلك ومكرر، فلذلك أنا أعطيته 10.
This is another set of images that has potential. It's an interesting scene. I haven't seen this before, so it's going to be visually striking for me because anything new always grabs your attention, and it got me on that level, but it didn't keep me very long. I find any kind of collection of images that becomes repetitive for me, you know, part of your responsibility in creating a portfolio or an essay is to keep it tight. Don't let any weaknesses be in that portfolio. And there are a couple weak images in here, and I let this one go to not to the next round.
Did we see this portfolio? I don't remember it. Did we see this? I don't remember.
Yeah. It was actually this 2 or 3 different versions of it.
I don't really remember this, so I guess it didn't strike me. You know, I don't remember what I scored on this, but I probably would give it a 40 because it feels repetitive to me. And again, there has to be something that's really compelling to hold the story together. You know, what is it's more like a theme rather than I don't know. I don't know what to say about this.
طبعا أنا ما تفتح عندي لحد الآن فتحة بعض الصور. احنا الكثير من المصورين للامانه انا ليش اقول بانه فهم السؤال نصف الجواب. يعني لما تقرا شروط واحكام اي مسابقه تاكد تماما بانه انت راح تنتقل الى المرحله الاكثر امان. انه لما تعرف شروط واحكام اي مسابقه راح تنتقل الى المرحله الاخرى اللي هي مرحله التنفيذ. هذا الشيء اغلب المصورين اللي ينظر الى حجم الصوره، قياس الصوره، الموضوع التحدي وخلص خلاه. البورتفوليو بعض المصورين، كثير من المصورين الاعمال اللي شفناها مثل لاعب الزانه يطلع خطوات الى ان يطفر. لا، موضوع البورتفوليو ينبغي ان يكون يحمل قصه، موضوع اب وابنه داخل بيت، برا ينتقلون المحل، برا يجب ان يكون هناك تنوع بصري ينطي ذائقه بصريه مختلفه تماما عما يفكر به الاخرين اللي ينطي صور متعاقبه يقول لك هذا البورتفوليو. هذا الموضوع مكرر مستهلك. يعني انا بالنسبه لي ما اعطي غير 20 درجه لسبب واحد، مستهلك مكرر ما به شيء، يعني متبع التسلسل بس ليس الا. لما اريد اناقش صوره بها موضوع، يعني لما نقول الصوره الفائزه بالجائزه الاولى تلقى بها موضوع، تلقى بها 3-4 ثيمات في موضوع واحد. فكر المصور مشتغل، اما هذه ما اعطيها 20 درجه بزايد.
This is almost like the one-room schoolhouse that we had a little while back. You have a set of black and white images that are, you know, successfully toned so they're visually appealing. I love looking at black and white, but I look at this and I go, beyond a couple compelling portraits, I don't have a story. I don't have. It doesn't talk to me. It doesn't say what's really going on here besides being a set of portraits inside a house someplace that I don't know. There's no context. There's nothing for me to hold on to. Again, I like a couple of individual images, but as a story, if it can't tell me a story or give me some kind of visual style, you know, lyrical style to hold on to, then I'm going to let go of it. And I passed on this one too. I probably gave it a low score just so it wouldn't move on to the next round.
I also wasn't feeling it to move on to the next round for the same reasons. I don't see what the story is. Maybe one or two could possibly go into the black and white category, but there's nothing hanging it together. There's no theme or story. Deep.
أنا بالنسبة لي فيما يتعلق في، يعني ممكن أن كان ينجح المصور أن يشترك بها على شكل صور انفرادية، بس كسبجكت كموضوع ما فيها موضوع أبدا. موجودة 3-4 صور موجودة هنا جميلة راقت لي 20.
For me, this portfolio is this has the same problem as the rope makers. I guess that's what they are. You have a single view. There's no rhythm. There's no where's the tight shot of the hands. Like if you think about the gold mining portfolio, that had some details. It made you actually feel for the people that are working. And when you have the same angle, the same size people in every frame, you're going to look at that and go, that's the same image, that's the same image, that's the same image. It changes a little bit, but it's basically the same photo time after time after time. And this one was out for me immediately too. It didn't grab my attention at all.
So in some of the portfolios, we saw that it wasn't about a story. There were certain images that hung together because they were of a theme or a sense of style. That can hang the portfolio together, but the last ones, the last portfolios that we're seeing, they're attempting to tell a story. So, like the one that won, for instance, that's not necessarily a story of, having to have an overview and all, and that kind of storytelling, but it was more like this sense of style and theme that held that together. So here, when we're looking at portfolios that, what is the hook, is a story, you better be executing that story well. So you really need to have some sort of overview shot so we know, where are we? What is going on? Where are you taking us? And then take us in. Good stories then have that, and then like Ken said, you have a detail shot, you have maybe some action, you have a portrait. There's something, that's creating that your story. And this got low score just to get it out of the running because it wasn't filling any of those needs.
هنالك حلقة مفقودة اللي تربط الصور بعضها ببعض. لم أرى موضوعا ولم أرى صورة واحدة ممكن أن تنشر بفيلم. لذلك أوت 15.
So I bet you all guess what we did with this one really quickly. I would venture to guess that this is one of those, the photographer loves it because you were there, you saw it. It's one of the most amazing spectacles in nature you'll ever see. I mean, it's a fabulous thing, but it's the same picture over and over and over again. How could this one have been more successful? To give me a real wide shot of the river, an establishing shot. I know all of these wildebeests, they will stand on the edge of the river for hours and hours and hours and hours until one wildebeest decides to lead the charge and be brave enough to cross. And it's a waiting game. So I know the story of this, and all I have is the middle part. What's the start? What's the middle of the story? And what's the end? I know what the end is. A bunch of them die. They drowned. Where's that picture? Where's the start? Where's the end? When you give me a story that just has the middle, and everybody knows, you've seen the BBC, you've seen the National Geographic specials, you know exactly what goes on here. So if you're going to submit a story that everybody knows the start, middle, and end, you better have the start, middle, and end, and not just the middle. This one was an easy out.
Agreed. 15. Moving on.
نعم، هذه الأعمال مثل ما ذكر كن أنه تكررت كثيرا، حتى أصبح المصورين بشكل عام، وعندنا أيضا الأخوان المبدعين في دول الخليج العربي المصورين يعرفون هجرة هذا النوع من اللي يسموه الجاموس أو نعم التاريخ الهجرة مالته، وين الطريق مالته، وين المسار مالته، يعرف بأنه يتابع عليه باستمرار. صور فردية ممكن أن تشترك بها، بس كموضوع مكرر مستهلك وعاد نفسه كثير كثير كثير. يعني ممكن أن المصور الآن يفكر بأنه شلون يدخل كلوز أب على مجموعة طويلة جدا يطلع من عليها التشكيلات، ممكن تميل إلى الفن التشكيلي أو الفن الموفمنت أو الفن الموشن الحركة، فأنا أعطيها 10.
maybe we should just move on to questions.
مم.
I mean, this is the same thing as the wildebeest crossing. There's white bears and white snow. I passed on this one really fast too. Sorry.
So did I for the same reasons, but I think you can see how this went for us, that you start to look that that's how things really, the cream really rises to the top, you know, because you do get this, okay, they're not really getting this, like it's a lot of this repetitive, and then we're like, okay, that's not working. So, you know, that's how you start chafing off all of this superfluous, you know, it sounds like we're looking at so many images, but you know, for us, it's like, oh, okay, pretty quickly we can see what's working, what's not, and then we do labor over, you know, these ones that really rise. So these were the ones that were, you know, presented, and I, you know, again, it was a low score because it's, you know, I've been to this region, I photographed polar bears, you know, give me something that's, if that's going to be your theme, then they better be doing something that's more interesting than just being all on the same plane and the same kind of image, same size, and yeah.
لو يعرف لو يعرف الدب الابيض بانه انت تكرهيه كان اكلك وخلص منك. أنا كذلك نفس الشيء، بأنه ما استوقفتني ولا يحتاج بأنه أنا أطلع عليها، ويفترض باللجنة فرز من أول مرة يفرزوها ويطلعوها أوت، يعني ما بيها شيء، موضوع تعبان ومستهلك يعني.
We have 10 minutes now for questions. Anybody has a question?
Yes, when you are judging, how long does it take you to judge one photograph?
To judge what?
One photograph, I mean one image. When you have thousands of images to judge.
I mean, that's a great question, but I think you could sort of see, you know, by introducing all these different portfolios, like a little bit of the pacing that we were going through. I mean, we stopped because we're talking about them, but once we have that, you know, we present this idea to you, like what we have in our head, it can go very quickly, very fast, that we just, you know, look at this and, you know, of course we give it the time. I think we had like 30 seconds on the image.
Yeah,
maximum 30 seconds. Yeah. And, you know, for some of us, it was, you know, you look at it and it can go very fast, but we had 30 seconds, and then the ones that you do keep and you like, then you can have the time to linger. And, you know, a lot of us did want to start, like, opening them up a little, looking in deeper. But, yeah, I mean, for both the portfolio and the single images.
Single images,
Yeah, yeah.
It
take more than 10 seconds or 15 seconds?
No, I mean, it really depends upon the images.
Mhm.
I mean, if you think about the range of images you've seen here tonight, there's some that you know are not going to be contest winners. And it took me about 2 seconds to look at the wildebeest set of photos in the portfolio. I mean, literally 2 seconds, and I had already entered 10. You know, and then when you're presented with a portfolio of, you know, this lyrical inside of the house and a nice style, you're going to pull up each of those images and look at them one by one and take the time to actually go through it. But when you can see a grid of photos and they're all the same, you don't even, you know, I'm sorry, maybe I should be looking at each one of those, but I can already tell you that it's not gonna hold up, and so it's a quick out. So it's either maximum time or it's gone, you know.
طبعا اغلب المحكمين اللي حكموا في طبعا فريق عمل جائزة حمدان مصنفين كل الثيمات، كل ثيمة على جنب. فالمحكم يقرأ الصورة في الثيمة المعنية، فعلى طول يقيمها. إذا كانت مطابقة لموضوع الثيمة يقف أمامها 10 20 30 ثانية، وإذا شاف هذا على طول يعني يرفضها. بالمحصل النهائي من ننتقل إلى المرحلة الأخرى، كل المحكمين لما يشوف العمل اللي هو قيمه موجود نفسيا يرتاح. فلذلك بأنه العمل الجيد، العمل اللي يتطابق مع موضوع وفكرة وتكوين وعناصر الصورة، هو اللي يقود المحكم بأنه أن يعطي رأيه به.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the judges because you've done a great job on judging all the photos, and we've learned a lot from you now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you.
My question is, I wanted to know the ranking. How do you rank each photos from the third to the first? I mean, they're already in the composition, they do the grade cropping, they have the good lighting, everything is there. So how do you do the ranking from the lowest to the highest?
If I understand you correctly, you're asking how we select first, second, and third? We don't actually get to select first, second, and third. Because when we leave the judging, we don't know what is first, second, and third. Because we're giving it a rank of 0 to 100. And I don't know, right here, I know how Allison and Dita voted, but in the judging room, we don't know. So when we leave, until we come back, we don't know who the actual winners are.
We didn't know till we read the names yesterday.
Because I give something 100, she gives something 75, and at the end, it's up to the HIPAA team to add up all the scores, and they know who the winners are. It's a little different than some competitions in that regard.
If you allow me to add a little bit, they finish the judging, we have the scores of all the photos. We start the verification. The verification where we ask for the legal documents, the waivers, and we ask for extra documents. And also part of the verification, we start investigating if they are a previous winner. And I will share something usually we didn't share, but we have one on the challenge on the second place. He was a winner on Singapore. They was rewarded on the 28th of October with the photo which reached the second place. This is disqualified immediately. For this reason, they will not know who's on the first, second, or third. But the rating which they give, we will keep it in the records, and we will start the verification. First verification, investigating if they are a previous winner. And to be very honest, this is really makes us a little bit sad sometimes if people doesn't read the rules and conditions. We have really on the top 10 people who was a previous winner. This is wasting the time of the judges themselves, the HIPAA team, and the other photographers. That's really, this is not ethical at all. And we keep saying, please go through the rules and conditions before you submit. And if you are not sure, also I have to share the good cases. We have 3-4 people who was rewarded before the 31st of October, and they are informing HIPAA ahead of time, and they ask us to disqualify the photo before go to judging. This is all respect, and we give them the chance to replace their photos, which is not always happen, but 3-4 of them was very frank, and they said we are already rewarded before 31st of October, and before we go to judging, and we enabled them to replace, and they was very honest, and they didn't replace their photos. For this reason, HIPAA a little bit different, because they select the top, but they are not really knows who's first, second, third.
Well, Mohammed, I have a question for you. How are you reviewing the images that maybe, thank you, good night. Don't worry. Thank you. The ones that are shot on film, maybe some people are still using film. Is that something, like how do you see that?
Your neighbor, one of the winners, who sent us film photo. Ken was a previous winner on HIPA, and his photo was on, I think it's 80. 80s. Yeah. He's not that much old, but he was photographing on 80s. And it was a film photo. And this year also we have one of the photos, if you remember the one with the truck. There is a truck with 2 soldiers. It was also a film, and he was able to send us the scan.
So he did you asked for a scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had. I had
Just
a full,
And
full frame
he is
scan
on
showing
the
the
book, by
sprockets.
the way.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hi, good evening, and thank you very much for the excellent session. It was quite enlightening, at
Thank
least
you.
from the jury's perspective. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just I have a couple of questions. One is from the judge's perspective, how do you see whether the photo is filling the criteria of, say, for example, the theme? Okay, so whether, like the challenge itself, whether the photographer sees his own challenge in taking the photo or the challenge from the subject or the scene. Because there are 2 aspects actually. The photographer was in a very difficult situation, but the photo didn't portray the scene.
Yeah, for me as an editor and a judge, I don't have any whether you're hanging in a helicopter or you're have crocodiles swimming around you to make the picture. I don't know that. The only thing I have to set a value, because that's what I'm doing, I'm judging, is what's in front of me. And that's the image, how successful it is. It doesn't matter how hard it was to take or how easy it was to take. It really isn't, it isn't of my concern. And I don't want to, it's, because that question goes into working with photographers too. You know how hard it was, and you have a different value, but I have to look at it and go, this is what this image means to me, how successful it is, because I guarantee that if I publish that in the magazine, 4 million people that read that magazine aren't going to know how hard it is. So why should I even take that into consideration when you're showing it to me, unless it has something to do with the story of the image that you're presenting. Otherwise, how difficult it was for you doesn't matter at all. It's not part of how I judge or even edit. I can appreciate the fact. I might pat you on the back and say, good job, but it's still not strong enough.
It's sort of like with editors, they just don't really care. They just want they want to see that you got the image. You can't come back with, I really wanted to get this, but then this guy got in the way of me, and so really this is, what I have. And it is an interesting way that people have been bringing this up, that the challenge is with the photographer. I have to say it never really occurred to me looking at these images, because I don't know and I don't really care. The challenge was for the judges. I mean, you could look at it like that way. I mean, it's really, I think with this theme that it's the idea is that it's the subject that you're looking at.
Thank you.
Thanks.
شكرا لكم، سعيدين جدا بهذه الجلسة. أريد أن أسأل يعني إذا كان الصورة وصلت للمرحلة الأخيرة، ما عندنا علم كم مثلا تحدي كم عدد الصور اللي وصلت للمرحلة الأخيرة؟ هل هو 50؟ هل هو 200؟ هل هو 10؟ يعني الصور اللي بتوصل للمرحلة الأخيرة بنريد نعرف الغربلة الأخيرة كم هو الحد الأعلى. هاي سؤالي. وبقترح بالنسبة لجائزة هبة إنه الصور اللي بتوصل للمرحلة الأخيرة يكون في رد سبب عدم فوزها مشان يستفيد المصور اللي قدم الصورة من أخطائه أو من أشياء في المسابقات القادمة. شكرا.
That's a good question. Ola?
I think there was like a little math formula that they used for the first round, and that was it didn't matter how many entries there were, whether there was 1,000 entries that we were looking at, or 750 or 1,500 images. They took the top 20%, I believe. Muhammad, was it 20%? 20 or 25% for the round cuts from 25? So 25%. So if we were looking at 400 images or 400 portfolios, then there would be 100 would make it to the next round. So the scores would be added up, and the top 100 scores would make it to the next round. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I think the second part of your question is, it would be great to be able to give individual photographers feedback on why their images got passed over or weren't as successful. But to do that, we spent, 3 solid days of judging just to try to figure out who were the winners, to give everybody feedback that's in the contest. We would be here 3 weeks. And that's just not really, I mean, maybe if there was a discussion and people could see a live judging, you could do it that way. And you would put the onus on the photographer to say, okay, the judging is going to happen this day. You can log in. You might see your photo come up and what the score was. But there's just so many images submitted to actually be able to give live feedback like that. That would be tough.
Okay, I think we are done for today. We would like to thank you very, very, very much for this valuable session. And I think now you have a little bit idea about the criteria they are judging with, and I hope some of you will be a winner next year. Thank you very much. We would like to thank you very much. And we would like also to give a small thank you letter for your contribution. Thank you. You can do it here. You can, yeah, here, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything's a photo op.
Yeah, here. Here.
Everyone can join.
If you can come all to this side, we can have a group photo. Yeah. Give it to him here. تفضل يا ويلي. استنى هون خلينا
Everyone go there. Go there. So one. Hola. More. Give me a second. Wait. Okay. And of course, Ken Geiger. Ken will ask me to take a picture also. Okay. One, two. Hola. One more. Don't worry, it's already full. Okay, wait. And all the three judges.
يلا. Okay, now selfie. Ronald, come. That's a cool one. Thank you. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to take your certificates on the reception. Thank you and good night. They got also for the
Yes,